The race in Spain concluded last weekend as a Grand Prix event full of action. The biggest surprise of the weekend was Mercedes, as they showed a huge improvement after their upgrades. Aston Martin showed a huge decline throughout the weekend in terms of pace, as they dropped below Mercedes and Ferrari. Despite all these changes among other top teams, Red Bull clearly dominated the whole weekend, except a mistake made by Perez during qualifying. On the remodeled track layout, Verstappen was setting fast lap times since practice sessions, showing all of his skills on a speed-friendly track like Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Through this video, we are going to discuss the highlights of the Spanish Grand Prix. But before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the bell icon for more exciting updates. Verstappen, who was the pole sitter with some impressive performances during qualifying, decided to start the race with mediums with a plan in his head, as pit stops and tyre management plays a key role in winning this race on a high-speed layout. Perez's mistake during qualifying removes an extra burden on Verstappen's mind, as he was the strongest threat to Max, driving an identical car. In addition to Verstappen, Perez and Sargent started the race on mediums and Charles Leclerc on hards. The rest of the field opted for soft to start the race, with a different game plan compared to Red Bull. Sainz launched a great attack at the start with the help of soft tyres, which provided a good grip as he completed the attack almost at turn 1 by overtaking Verstappen through following an outside line. But he failed to defend it as the Dutchman retook the position within a few moments. Lewis Hamilton was able to make a good start and remained ahead of Norris when he reached turn 1, but Norris tapped the rear of his countryman, damaging his front wing as well, and entered the pit lane at the end of the first lap, completely ruining his afternoon session. But Hamilton was able to survive after this contact, despite losing a track position to Stroll. Stroll took advantage of this contact and overtook Norris at turn 3 and Hamilton at turn 5. But within a few minutes, the Aston Martin driver understood that his car did not possess enough pace to defend his track position against Mercedes or Ferrari, and Hamilton reclaimed his track position at lap 8 by going around the outside on the brakes into turn 1. Before this lap, Hamilton's teammate George Russell completed a successful attack against Fernando Alonso, who was driving the other Aston Martin. With the tyre advantage that Russell had, he was able to overtake Esteban Ocon for the 5th position at turn 1 in the next lap. Perez, who had had a bad qualifying session, appeared to be charging through the pack to improve his track position, and when it was lap 8, he completed a successful overtake of Zhou Guanyu, taking the maximum use of his medium tyre set. Sainz, who was running in second, thought that he had sufficient pace to defend against Mercedes running behind him, but it was wrong, and he decided to enter the pits at lap 15 to switch to medium rubber instead of soft. 3 laps later, Russell told his team, "I've got a lot more pace in these tyres. We need to look forwards, not back," delaying his pit stop. His teammate also appeared to be following the same strategy by delaying his first pit stop. Even though there was a 9-lap gap between Sainz and Hamilton's pit stop, Hamilton was able to overtake Sainz 4 laps after the Spaniard's first pit stop. Despite Mercedes challengers appearing to be running with a good pace, Verstappen was maintaining a good lead against Hamilton. He extended his advantage further by switching from medium to hard, and the only case for him was the track limit infringements. Talking about the issue after the race, Verstappen said, "I went over the white line 3 times. It happens sometimes. Some tracks it's a bit easier to do, and I was struggling a little bit with the harder tyres to keep it within the white lines. But I knew once, of course, I had that last warning that I had to keep it within the white lines. But it's not an issue really." Despite the possibility of being affected by rain during the race, as occurred over the weekend, the threat appeared to diminish over time. Sainz, who had a good qualifying and start to the race, lost second place to Hamilton first, and 1 more place to Russell within a 6-lap gap. His only hope was to secure at least 4th position when there were 25 laps to go. Sainz told his team over the radio to find a way to defend against Perez, who was charging through the pack with the aim of a podium finish. As a strategy, Sainz switched to hard immediately, and it appeared to be a good decision at first glance, as he was able to reclaim the track position with a fresher set of rubber. However, Red Bull executed their plan 9 laps later, opening a real question about the strategy followed by the Italian team. So Perez was pitted with soft rubber, and the Spaniard had no defense against the Red Bull driver when he overtook the Ferrari with the help of DRS when there were 14 laps to go. At that moment, the front two were settled very well, and the question was only about whether Perez could catch Russell for a podium finish. But Russell was running with a good pace since the beginning of the race, and Perez was unable to close the gap to the Brit within the remaining 14 laps. Alonso or Aston Martin did not appear as much of an influential factor in this race, as there was a considerable pace deficit of the AMR 23 relative to the other top 3 teams. So Alonso's effort was successful enough only for 7th place in the final standings, even dropping behind his teammate at his home race in the closing stages. After Alonso's move against Ocon for 7th, the top 7 spots were settled, but the battle continued for the last 3 positions offering points. Zhou attacked Tsunoda for the 9th place, but Tsunoda didn't leave enough space for him, and the AlphaTauri driver was given a harsh 5-second time penalty. That was sufficient enough to demote him for the 12th position, below Zhou, Gasly and Leclerc in the final standings. Leclerc, who experienced a bad qualifying session and started the race as 19th on the starting grid, was in a great recovery drive since the beginning of the race, but his optimum performances were enough only for an 11th place finish in the race. And in that way, the 2023 Spanish Grand Prix ended up handing over one more easy victory to Verstappen. Now he is maintaining a healthy lead of 53 points over his closest rival, Sergio Perez, in the championship standings. Mercedes was the most surprising factor in this race, as they were able to record their first double podium finish in the 2023 season, after demonstrating a significant pace improvement in their challenger. With that improvement, there is a big threat on Alonso for the second runners-up position from Hamilton, as their point gap is only 12. Now, Formula 1 is ready to race on Canadian soil within a gap of 2 weeks. Teams are ready to introduce some significant upgrades to their 2023 challenges before the race in Montreal, and we can expect some close competition between the teams for that reason. What do you think about the next race in Canada? Can Mercedes attack Red Bull for the first time in the 2023 season? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to get more exciting Formula 1 news. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.